Livestock Auction, the investigation revealed an ongoing pattern of cruelty and severe neglect.
Others are bought to be slaughtered.
Just a 5-year-old Morgan Cross gelding.
I don't know if it's right or it's wrong, but it's what has to be done. I mean, it's part of life.
He can barely contain his anger at animal rights activists.
It is inhumane from the moment they leave in transport trucks to the moment they get inside those slaughter plants.
An undercover Mercy for Animals investigation has exposed what the organization calls shocking and severe animal abuse and neglect at one of the oldest and largest livestock auctions in Southern California.
Well, our investigator documented a culture of cruelty. Workers were documented beating animals. These are animals too sick or injured to even walk without any access to food, water, or veterinary care. This is horrific abuse, and we feel that this auction should be shut down.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, Comrade Lavender, here with another anti-capitalism deep dive true crime unsolved video. Today I'm going to be doing the Pure Evil, the Livestock Auction / Sales Barn Industry Files, a deep dive into this topic. Disclaimer, I want to get off my chest about how I feel about certain things. I'm not opposed to all types of farming or industries that have animals. Let me just make that very perfectly clear. I do support zoos. I do support regenerative farming. I don't support factory farming. I don't support circuses. I don't support SeaWorld. I gave some of my reasons as to why in some of my YouTube videos. I'm just talking about the capitalism atrocities that go on in the livestock auction industry. So before we get started, I'm going to put my YouTube videos on the screen right now that are related to this topic if you guys would like to check them out. So let's get started into this true crime video. Animal are the livestock industry's establishments where farmed animals are kept until they are sold or shipped to another destination. They are a staple of agricultural businesses and companies. They are a place where farmers bring their stock to be bought and sold for profit. Some animals may have to endure transport to multiple auctions before they are ultimately sold as either pets, breeding stock, or more likely for slaughter. In some cases, animal activists and rescue sanctuary operations might buy some of the animals for sale to rescue them so they can live out their lives, the animals' livestock, in retirement. But most of these animals in these auctions will unfortunately be slaughtered. Pennsylvania is home to one of the largest livestock auctions dealing in horses, New Holland. It is frequented by kill buyers, individuals whose sole purpose of being in an auction is to purchase horses and other animals and ship them to slaughter plants in Canada or Mexico for monetary gain to maybe be turned into dog food. Where do these animals come from exactly that you see at the sales barn? Most come from farms, ranches, homesteads, animal entertainment industries, etc.
Put it simply, a cull cow is a cow that we no longer want in our milking herd.
So, it turned out to be 17 cull ewes, and the majority of them were really old. That's the sad part of life. It leaves room for the really good sheep.
But she was bred in April, and I scanned her in June, I believe. April, May, June, yeah. So the green we used in June, and she had a line. So this was her second chance to redeem herself. She did not.
So we take her to the sale barn, and they're usually bought, and they enter the beef market then. So they'll go to a packing facility where they slaughter animals, and they'll be processed into most likely ground beef or hot dogs.
Most animals at these auctions are cull animals, such as, for example, animals that are old, infertile, or injured in some way are culled after being exploited and treated like a commodity for all their life when they're no longer of use or valuable to the farmer. Example, old racehorses that are no longer profitable to the racing horse industry will be culled. Breeding ewes or sheep are culled along with dairy cows are another example of this, usually because of reduced fertility, infertility, reduced milk production, udder issues like mastitis, injured animals, since most farmers don't call the vet when an animal gets injured, old age, after being exploited by the farmer all its life until it's no longer profitable or useful to the farmer, aka animal exploitation, etc. Mastitis can spread in unsanitary conditions and environments. Flies flying from udder to udder is one way mastitis is transmitted and spread, but the disease is often present even on farms with pristine, cleaner conditions and sanitary routines.
We had a watch on her last year for having a bad udder, and she's also going to be a cull this year. We're far too busy to be babysitting sheep anymore. We got Penny the Clown's 2 lambs, she's like Toonie. Last year she got a watch on her udder, and she's just a poor milk producer, getting too old for it. She's a cull this time around. She is feeding the lambs, but not well enough.
When an animal gets this and is not treated in time, she will be culled from the flock and sent to the livestock auction, most likely to be bought and to be slaughtered. The livestock auction pen, the auction area itself, is designed like a mini stadium, as if for a spectator sport and not an auction of living beings. White bleachers surround a ring fence with wooden or metal bars. The auctioneer stood at the podium with a cowboy hat on at one end of the ring, calling out prices and serial numbers for each cow and other animals that were being auctioned off in a fast way so you couldn't even understand what he was actually saying. Another man stood next to the auctioneer using an electrical device to track sales. The buyers, who were scattered around the bleachers, were nearly all middle-aged or older white men. The auction audience, made up of families who were there to eat burgers in the on-site restaurant and buy cows, sheep, goats, etc. to add to their breeding stock herds. The ring contained 2 gates, one where animals entered and another where they exited. After having been presented for viewing, there were men there as well. The men's job and goal was to keep the livestock moving constantly, preferably in a round circle, a 360, around the pen, to enable the audience of prospective buyers to examine her body. Each animal was displayed in this manner for an average of 20 seconds. Many of the animals appeared to be looking for an escape. All the animals were visually agitated, irritated, and confused or scared. The animal was forced through the exit gate. The backstage area where the animals were held was shielded from the public viewing area. The livestock auction actually does showcase the gendered nature of this oppression that both humans and non-humans face. Throughout history, scores of women around the world have fought and continue to fight for freedom and patriarchal violence, domestic abuse, rape, harassment, femicide, and objectification. Females across species deserve to be treated as more than just objects for males' personal gain. The livestock auction served as a stark reminder that non-human females face much of the same oppression, abuse, or objectification as human women. All sentient beings, creatures, male and female, just want to be with their families, not paraded around like a trendy object or trophy. Livestock auctions have a poor record of animal welfare. Animal welfare at livestock auctions takes a backseat to capitalism sales. The Animal Welfare Act, despite its name, provides no significant protection to farmed animals whose bodies are used for food, furs, or skins. This means animals such as cows, chickens, pigs, turkeys, foxes, etc. are not protected by this law. There exist no standard protocols for providing animals at auctions with significant food, water, veterinary care, space for rest, shade in the hot weather, and comfortable quarters in cold weather. Animals too sick or injured to walk, aka downer animals, may be unable to reach the food or water supply and can suffer from inhumane attempts to force them to move and get up, including being rammed with forklifts, shocked repeatedly by electrical cow prods, and dragged around by chains around their necks or legs via tractor. The mood at the coal market is different. Spent and injured animals such as cows are sold to new owners at the auction, who often transport them to a feedlot, feed them for a month, and sell their larger bodies for a larger price. At a dairy auction in Texas, animals arrived so ill they couldn't walk, and some would show up dead on arrival. and many would be laying down. People would beat the hell out of them just to try to get them up, and if they couldn't get up, they'd be shot. This is the condition of many spent cows that were used for the dairy industry and are sold for meat. They were sick, lame, and just out of a trailer with dead cows inside. During the same investigation, someone had witnessed something unusual, even by dairy auction standards. The USDA doesn't care enough to regulate transport conditions, but they do require animals crossing state lines to be tracked in case of a biohazard disease outbreak. Those livestock tags are what those are called on the ears of the animal. The auction would buy a certain amount of their own cows and remove their ear tags, including federal ear tags called ADT tags, to this auction enterprise. Changing a cow's identity was no different than switching the stickers on two pieces of fruit. These people would remove the ADT tags and put stickers on the cows to make the cows appear as though they were organic, so they could sell them to California for triple the price. In a picture, an emaciated dairy cow bleeds profusely from her nose while she stands in a holding pen at a cattle auction in Quebec, Canada. Few of the more 9 million cows being used in the dairy industry in the United States, along with many others worldwide, will find sanctuary in their lifetimes. Capitalism doesn't let commodities rest at the end of their lives. The insatiable need and hunger for capitalism profits rarely grants freedom to those who have served. Another true crime case. A recent undercover investigation at a California livestock auction has revealed a system of unchecked cruelty, extreme violence, and severe abuse and neglect. A video has gone viral by the Mercy for Animals undercover investigator at Ontario Livestock Sales outside of Los Angeles shows baby goats being picked up by their necks and heads, dragged by their legs, and thrown ruthlessly about. Sheep and pigs are kicked, prodded, dragged, and stomped on by workers that force them to move. Live birds can be stuffed into plastic bags, left to suffocate. Animals are overcrowded into narrow pathways and small spaces to the point where they're forced to trample on top of each other. The investigation also revealed sick, downer, and diseased animals left to die from exposure or sold to transported to be entered into the meat supply chain. State laws prohibit auctions from selling or holding downed animals who are too sick to walk. However, the footage reveals evidence that this occurs on a regular daily basis. As a result of this true crime footage and subsequent investigation, 7 employees and the owner of the sales barn auction have been charged with 21 counts of animal cruelty. More true crime cases and abuse of these auctions include: it is difficult to visit a horse auction and not discover horses with hip bones exposed and ribs so visible that the animals look like skeletons. Anatomy skeletons. Also seen are horses with systematic infections such as pneumonia and strangles, wounds, and serious foot problems, and some animals even have foot rot that make it exceedingly difficult or painful for them to walk. A large pig laid with labored breathing in 91-degree heat for at least 5 hours, while Fox 31 problem solvers monitored the pens. The pig wasn't well enough to rise off the ground during that time, even after being kicked. On another hot afternoon, a sheep didn't make it through the hot day, dying in a pen until a bobcat hauled its carcass away. Dairy calves and young beef cows under extreme panic and stress can be seen in the daily and weekly sales basis in an auction house. Separated from their mothers at only days old, often with their umbilical cords still attached, they are forced through the auction ring, pushed and prodded around for maximum efficiency and the highest bidder. Frightened, hungry calves discovered at the Lebanon Valley Livestock Auction in Pennsylvania. Liz Stefani was driving by the Lebanon Valley Livestock Auction when she saw a sign near the road that read "Dead Animal Removal." She felt that something was wrong and investigated. A skull and the lifeless bodies of several animals confirmed her suspicions. Upon further investigation, she found 13 calves confined without food or water in a pen at the back of the auction complex. After investigating the property, she led a police officer at the Lebanon County Humane Society to the location, however, stated that everything fell under the standard agricultural practices for the state of Pennsylvania, and therefore no animal cruelty charges will be filed. They were just on a strict diet, the police officer had said. Cruelty is the norm in today's livestock, agricultural industry, where farm animals are treated like commodities instead of living, feeling creatures. And another instance, in the Amish, obviously not all of them, but some have puppy mills and sell their livestock auctions and view dogs as livestock. Lancaster County has been called the puppy mill capital of the United States, and the trade is largely dominated by the Amish. The female breeders live their lives producing litter after litter in tiny cages until they can no longer produce puppies. Then the dogs are then disposed of, sometimes euthanized, sometimes shot, and it's all perfectly legal, secretive, and profitable. Breeders can make upwards to $500,000 a year. The Amish breeders will sell dogs at auctions and also to pet stores. Dogs in this community are viewed as livestock. Nothing more, nothing less. Chickens or pigs or goats or sheep or cows or horses, etc. It's just a source of income for them, aka a commodity. When it comes to horses, the racehorse industry and the thoroughbred industry is another group that uses auctions as a way to facilitate the overbreeding and discarding of horses they breed and dumping. Hundreds of thoroughbreds move through the auctions every year, and not all of these have been on the track. Horses that are not determined worthy of racing will still be indiscriminately sold at the auction, often before being registered. Lacking any official papers, the young thoroughbred does not have the same chance of finding a good home than a horse that has papers. Horses who have been lamed, either temporarily or permanently, are easily discarded to make way for a new crop of racing prospect horses. In an auction, you have a short time to evaluate the horse in the stall being ridden or turned out in the main area before bidding. The horse is in a new, uncertain environment, which can put even the most docile, friendly of horses on edge and cause them to act contrary to the nature. Horses who are lame are also getting drugs to mask their physical issues at these auctions and auction houses, where a person purchased a horse from an auction only to find out later that the horse needed thousands of dollars in medical care and veterinary care. There are no repercussions for individuals who will purposely try to dump horses who have issues onto unexpected buyers. Horses at auctions are sold for as little as $50. This means that the horse is most likely purchased by a kill buyer and will be shipped to Mexico or other countries for slaughter. Horse auctions attract and benefit people who neglect and mistreat horses. You go to an auction, you will see, however, the hundreds of thoroughbreds and other horses that the racing industry throws away every single year. You will see horses in various stages of neglect. You will see horses that have been brought and sold at various auctions without receiving adequate training or medical care. You will see horses who are permanently lame, old, brought back time and again when the owner realizes that it was not an issue it needed to be fixed. They bought a horse not knowing that it had all these issues and thought the issue was easy to fix when they found it wasn't easy to fix. You'll see neurological horses who have neurological problems who should have never been ridden, but who are deemed as rideable. You will see horses who are older, who are in devastating pain and suffering, but are put through the auction so their owner can squeeze an extra $100 out of them, instead of humanely euthanizing them. Lots of sales barn auctions have implemented a no photography / video ban at auctions and auction houses and sales barns. Those in violation of the rule will be removed from the property forcefully. Animal welfare advocates and vegan animal activists believe this was a direct response to social media exposure of repeated animal cruelty at these sale barn and livestock auction houses. Unfortunately, these atrocities are standard practice at these sales barn and livestock auctions. Here are some more examples of the unhinged auction true crime cases. A boar goat named Cedar was slaughtered by Shasta County fair officials over the objections of her 9-year-old owner. The parents of the girl had initially purchased the boar goat for their daughter to raise and to enter a livestock auction held for 4-H kids and other youth farm groups at the Shasta District Fair in Northern California last June, but the girl girl became attached to the goat, sobbing and pleading with the parents to save Cedar from slaughter. Eventually, they relented and tried to hide the goat and back out of the deal, even hiding the goat at a rural farm. But at that point, it was too late. Though the parents offered to pay the goat's price, and the buyer even agreed, fair officials wouldn't back down. Within weeks, the fascist police state used search warrants to track down Cedar and forcibly take him away. The story quickly went viral, sparking outrage on behalf of the girl and her goat. According to the livestock auction rules, exhibitors are forbidden from taking back the animals. The sale is terminal. Even if the buyer and seller change their minds, there is no backing out of this. No exceptions. The program even teaches emotional avoidance skills to children, avoiding names for the animals so they think of them as purely as commodities and potential for capitalism profits.